Welcome to Kautilya. An overview of the Indian Constitution. First, we have to know the meaning of Constitution. The word Constitution was first used by and defined by Aristotle. The great Greek philosopher and statesman, that person had given first definition of Constitution. Constitution means powers of the state and also rights and duties of citizens in the state. This definition was given in 4th century BC. Powers of the state means all different types of powers. Persons and bodies' powers are mentioned in the Constitution. Means President of India, Prime Minister, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. Suppose we take example of our country, all these powers are mentioned. State levels, Governor, CM, all these powers are mentioned in the Constitution, and also rights and duties. We have some fundamental rights, same time we have to follow some duties. All these are mentioned in the Constitution. That's why first who defined in the Constitution means that person is Aristotle, mentor of Alexander and student of Plato. That person had given definition of this Aristotle. First country made constitution in the world is USA. America got independence from Britain in 1776. 13 colonial states got independence from Britain in 1776. After that, they made one constitution for ruling themselves in Philadelphia. That is the first written constitution in the world. Before that, any country does not have constitution. First country is USA. It is the smallest constitution and also the most rigid constitution in the world. Next, we go to democracy. Generally, most of the countries in the world are democratic countries. Democracy means, the world famous definition, government is by the people, for the people, of the people. This definition was given by Abraham Lincoln. Sixteenth President of America, very famous personality. He had given definition in 1862. Before that, democracy was there, but they don't have any definition. Britain is the first country implemented democracy in the world. Britain started democracy in 1721. First Prime Minister of Britain was Robert Walpole. Robert Walpole. He was elected by the people first time in the world. That's why first democratic country in the world is Britain. But they don't have definition, but first definition was given by Abraham Lincoln. The definition is, government is by the people, of the people, for the people. Democracy is two types. First one is parliamentary democracy. If any country is following parliamentary democracy, that country is ruled by Prime Minister. Real head of the country, government of the country is Prime Minister. Example, India, Britain, Australia, Canada, New Zealand. These countries are democratic countries, but parliamentary democratic countries. Second is presidential. Democratic countries. If any country is following presidential democracy, that country is ruled by president. Best example is America, France, Russia, like that. That's why two types of democracy in the world: parliamentary democracy, presidential democracy. Next, we go to republic. Republic means if any country's government head or president is elected by the people either directly or indirectly, that country is called simply republic. India is one republic because Indian president is elected by the people indirectly. America is a republic, Russia is republic, but Britain is not republic. Britain head is queen. Queen, after that king or any queen will come, but president is not rule in Britain. That's why Britain is parliamentary democratic kingdom. India is parliamentary democratic republic. President must be elected by the people either directly or indirectly. That country is republic. First republic in the world is USA. In 1789, that country's first president George Washington was elected. That is the first republic in the world. India is one republic from January 26, 1950. Before that, India was not republic. India was under the control of Britain up to 1947. After that, we made constitution, then we implemented our country as one republic. Next, we have to know some words definitions in our constitution. Sovereign. Sovereign means if a country's people are internally supreme, should not bound any outside control, that country is called sovereign country. Suppose if a country is under control of any another country at the time, that country is not called sovereign country. India is a sovereign country. We mentioned in our preamble also the word sovereign. Next, socialist. Socialist means to establish egalitarian society. Whenever the society establishes egalitarian society means wealth must be distributed among the people of India. At the time, egalitarian society is possible. India is trying for socialist concept point of view, distribution of wealth, land reforms, income tax paying, all these are distribution of wealth. But India is partially socialist country, not fully socialist country, because maximum wealth under the control of some people. India is trying for socialist nation point of view. Next, secular. Secular means if a country's government has no official religion, that country is called secular country. Government should not interfere public religious matters. At the time, that country is secular country. Finally, India is a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. If a person wants to know constitution, rules and regulations, that person must know these words meaning compulsory. India is a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. These words are mentioned in our preamble. Next, we go to nature of our constitution. Whenever we talk about nature of our constitution is the biggest constitution in the world. India has so many religions, so many castes, so many races, different economic inequality people are living. At the time, we require more rules and regulations. That's why our constitution is the biggest constitution in the world. We follow different country concepts. Our constitution borrowed from so many countries in the world. Our own creations are less. We borrowed so many concepts from different countries in the world because we want to get all facilities at the time. Wherever good qualities are available, those concepts we borrowed. Suppose, for example, parliamentary system of the government we borrowed from Britain. Fundamental rights we borrowed from America. Directive principles of state policy we borrowed from Ireland. Our constitution nature is partly rigid and partly flexible. Some part of the constitution is amended very easily. Some parts of the constitution amended tough. That's why our constitution is partly rigid and partly flexible. Our constitution base is unitary base, but features are federal features. It means partly unitary features are there, partly federal features are there. Suppose for example, single citizenship is a unitary feature. Division of powers means distribution of powers is a federal feature. Rights are federal feature. Supremacy of the constitution federal feature. Single citizenship, single president, single Supreme Court, these are unitary features. Base is unitary, but features are federal features. And also independent judicial system we are following. Different concepts, wherever good qualities are available, those qualities we borrowed and we developed our constitution. Our constitution was written very clearly. Scheduled areas purpose some articles allotted, scheduled caste purpose some articles allotted, tribes purpose allotted, minorities purpose allotted, languages purpose allotted, emergencies purpose, constitutional bodies purpose, different concepts purpose, we allotted articles. That's why our constitution was written elaborately and clearly written. Our nature is very clearly were written at the time. Our constitution is useful to all the people of this country. After that also so many amendments were done in our country. How developed this constitution? Constitution developments. Next we go to constitutional developments. Whenever we want to discuss about constitutional developments, we have to discuss from 1773 onwards. 1773 to 1935, Britishers made so many acts in our country. Actually, British impact was more on our constitutional development also. British impacts were more on our constitutional development. Actually, Britishers came to India for the purpose of doing business. They got license from Jahangir in 1605. After that, they started their first establishment in Surat in 1608. After that, they started in Machilipatnam in 1611. They started in Channapatnam in 1639. Up to 1757, they had done only business, but in 1757, they started occupying our places through Battle of Plassey. Robert Clive defeated Siraj-ud-Dowlah in the Battle of Plassey and occupied some part in Bengal. After that, in the Battle of Buxar in 1764 also, remaining part of the Bengal and Awadh state from Siraj-ud-Dowlah and Mughal Emperor was also lost in this battle. Finally, Britishers captured Bengal and Awadh places and Mughal Empire ruling places. After that, they made first act for the purpose of ruling our country. That act is Regulating Act in 1773. First act made by Britishers in our country for the purpose of ruling us, that is Regulating Act. It is the first developed act by Britishers. According to this act, the post Bengal governor was changed to Governor General of India, Governor General of Bengal. Person is not changed, only post was changed. Warren Hastings is the first Governor General of Bengal. After that, one federal court was established in our country in Calcutta. That is now we are calling Supreme Court. In 1774, they started federal court in Calcutta. From 1773 to 1935, Britishers made so many acts in our country, but they never made any rules and regulations book, constitution type book. According to their convenience, they made rules and regulations and they implement in our country. Some acts impact is more on our constitution also. Best example, Government of India Act 1935. So many articles we borrowed from Government of India Act 1935. According to some criticizers, our constitution is true copy or Xerox copy of Government of India Act 1935. Because so many rules and regulations we borrowed, federal system of the government we borrowed from Government of India Act 1935, but they borrowed from Canada, but we borrowed from Government of India Act 1935. Supreme Court concept and also president rule, center-state relations, all these concepts borrowed from Government of India Act 1935. But Britishers 1773 onwards, they implemented different acts for the ruling of our country. So Charter Act 1833, they changed the post in our country. Governor General of Bengal was changed to Governor General of India. And also law member was established in their Governor General Council. First law member, that person Lord Macaulay. And also 1858, Government of India Act 1858, they transferred from East India Company to British Crown. Then the post name was changed from Governor General of India to British Viceroy in our country. Power was transferred from East India Company to British Crown in 1858. Then Governor General placed British Viceroy, ruling started. But he was representative of British Queen or King. He has no powers. He is a representative, okay, in India from Britain. 1858 to 1947, Viceroys representation in our country. Through 1909 Minto-Morley reforms or 1909 Indian Councils Act, direct elections were conducted in our country, and also minorities purpose some electorates allotted. 1919 also very important, that is diarchy was implemented in our country, and some other developments were occurred. 1919 Government of India Act, or it is also called as Montague-Chelmsford reforms. Montague-Chelmsford reforms. But finally they made very biggest act and last act, that is Government of India Act 1935. It is the biggest act made by Britishers in our country. According to this act, federal system of the government was implemented, means distribution of power, division of powers was implemented. Powers divided between central and provincial level. Provincial autonomy was given. Provincial autonomy was implemented in 1935. And Supreme Court, means at the time federal court was shifted from Calcutta to Delhi. Viceroy rule was implemented. Some powers had given to provinces also. All these developments were occurred from 1773 to 1935 in our country. But in 1946, Lord Clement Attlee came to power. In Britain, he belongs to Labour Party. He was elected Prime Minister of Britain in 1946. He appointed cabinet mission with his cabinet colleagues. The main aim of this mission is to discuss with Indian leaders about autonomous status and also to make one constitution for the purpose of ruling India. This mission chairman was Lord Pethick Lawrence. He was one of the cabinet members of Lord Clement Attlee. He was the chairman of cabinet mission. And members are Stafford Cripps, and A.V. Alexander. A.V. These three persons came to India and discussed with Indian leaders. They conduct all party meeting conference. Finally, they submitted report to British Prime Minister Lord Clement Attlee. According to this report, Attlee sent Lord Wavell to India for establishing Constituent Assembly. Lord Wavell came to India in July 1946. He established Constituent Assembly. Our constitution was developed through Constituent Assembly. Who made our constitution means Constituent Assembly, but indirectly made by people of India. But Constituent Assembly role is main important role making of our constitution. It was established in July 1946 by Lord Wavell. He was sent by Lord Clement Attlee. It was established with 389 members. 389 members. What is the strength of Constituent Assembly? That is 389. These 389 members are elected indirectly, nominated, appointed from various regions of our country. Out of 389, 292 members are elected from British provinces indirectly. British provinces means British rule areas like Madras province, Bengal province, Bombay province, Punjab province. Different types of provinces. 292 members were elected by the people indirectly. Legislative councils were there. Those legislative council members selected these Constituent Assembly members. Next, 93 members are nominated from princely states. More than 550 princely states were located in our country. From those princely states, 93 members were nominated. Like Hyderabad was a Nizam princely state, Gwalior, Mysore princely state. Different princely states were there in India. From these princely representation, 93 members. Next, 4 members are appointed from British commission areas. Appointed from British commissioner areas like Baluchistan, some Andaman Nicobar. These areas, British commissioners were ruled at the time. They appointed. They were appointed from British commission areas. Total 389 members elected, nominated, appointed from different regions in the country because they are representation of all over the country. Then this Constituent Assembly prepared or drafted our constitution. After election, nomination, all these things completed, then they first meet on December 9th, 1946. First meeting of the Constituent Assembly was conducted on December 9th, 1946. This meeting was presided by the most senior person in the Constituent Assembly. That person is Dr. Sachidananda Sinha. He was the most senior member in the Constituent Assembly. This tradition is French tradition. French people also implementing this tradition. We also implemented this French tradition or custom. But first meeting of the Constituent Assembly was boycotted by Muslim League Party. Because they demanded separate constitution, but their country is not announced, but they demanded separate constitution. That's why they boycotted first meeting of the Constituent Assembly. But they attended second meeting. It was conducted on December 11th, 1946. In second meeting, Dr. Babu Rajendra Prasad was elected President of Constituent Assembly. Rajendra Prasad was elected President of Constituent Assembly on December 11, 1946. He appointed H.C. Mukherjee as Vice President of Constituent Assembly. and Dr. B.N. Rao appointed as advisor of Constituent Assembly. Legal expert Dr. B.N. Rao appointed advisor of Constituent Assembly. Advisor of Constituent Assembly. It was done on December 11, 1946. After that, again third day they conducted meeting on December 13th, 1946. Here important thing is what happened, that is Jawaharlal Nehru introduced objective resolution in Constituent Assembly. It explains the main important aim of the Constitution. What is the main aim of our Constitution? The main aim of our Constitution is to give social, economic, political justice to the people of this country. People of India will get liberty, equality, fraternity, all these things. All those things are mentioned in our objective resolution. It was introduced by Jawaharlal Nehru. All the members of House unanimously accepted or approved this objective resolution. It is the main source of our preamble. In our Constitution, preamble what explains the main aim or objective of the Constitution. Those things are mentioned in object resolution. After that, they did not concentrate that much of our Constitution. They waited for independence. That's why any Constitution drafting was not started. Special meeting was conducted on August 15th, 1947. August 15, 1947, Constituent Assembly conducted special meeting. After that, August 29th, 1947, the most important meeting was conducted, that is, committees were appointed, different committees were appointed in our Constituent Assembly. The most important committee is Drafting Committee. The most important committee of all our Constitution Assembly committees, Drafting Committee. This committee chairman was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He studied so many country laws, that's why he was appointed chairman of Drafting Committee. Under the guidelines of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, our Constitution was adopted. That's why this person is called Father of Indian Constitution. But so many committees were appointed, subcommittees, main committees, all were appointed, and they had given so many suggestions to Drafting Committee. Then Drafting Committee finally drafted our Constitution. But in Drafting Committee, how many members? You have to remember, 6 members are there in Drafting Committee. 6 members are there in Drafting Committee: Gopalaswamy Iyengar, Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, Muhammad Saduddaula, K.M. Munshi, Madhav Rao, and D.P. Ketan. These members were there. But the Drafting Committee chairman Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, 6 members were appointed in Drafting Committee. This is the main important committee in our Constituent Assembly. Some other committees also were appointed, and the chairmans also we have to concentrate. Those committees are Rules Committee. Rules Committee chairman Dr. Babu Rajendra Prasad. He was also chairman of Steering Committee. Jawaharlal Nehru was the chairman of Union Powers. And Union Constitutional Committee. Union powers means central government, what type of powers are required, what type of rules and regulations are required. In our Constitution, from Article 52 to 151, central government related articles are there. All these articles were mentioned according to Jawaharlal Nehru guidelines. Union powers, Union constitutional matters, all are designed by Jawaharlal Nehru. Next, provincial powers and provincial constitutional committee. Chairman was Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. He is also chairman of so many other committees. The most important committee is Provincial Powers and Provincial Constitution. In our Constitution, Part 6 is allotted for provincial powers point of view, means state government or state legislature point of Part 6 from Article 152 to 237. All these articles explained about state government related matters. All these were made on the advice or guidelines of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Next, advisory committee. Advisory committee chairman is also Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Fundamental Rights Committee chairman also Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, but subcommittee chairman is Fundamental Rights Subcommittee. J.B. Kripalani. Whenever India got independence, at the time our INC president was J.B. Kripalani. That person was Fundamental Rights Subcommittee chairman. The biggest committee in our Constituent Assembly is Advisory Committee. The most powerful committee is Drafting Committee. Minority Committee chairman Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. But subcommittee, minority subcommittee chairman was H.C. Mukherjee. All these committees and subcommittees were formed and they drafted our constitution. Finally, draft was made. Draft means rough constitution was made up to February 1948. It is finally not approved, just draft was designed, draft was made up to February 1948. Then it was published in all major newspapers in March 1948 for public opinion. Because it was made by our constitutional experts, but they were elected, nominated from people. At the time, public opinion is also very important. Then they have taken public opinion. More than 7,500 complaints and suggestions came to Constituent Assembly. But they observed 2,500 approximately suggestions and complaints. Finally, they approved our constitution on November 26, 1949. Approved or enacted or adopted on November 26, 1949. November 26, 1949. It has taken 2 years, (11 months, 18 days) to draft our constitution. 2 years, 11 months, 18 days time had taken to prepare or to draft our constitution. Total 64 lakhs expenditure was occurred to draft our constitution, and 11 meetings were conducted. 11 meetings were conducted to draft our constitution. All meetings were conducted in Delhi. Symbol of our Constituent Assembly was elephant. Why we have taken elephant? Our constitution was the biggest constitution in the world. That's why we have taken elephant. But we implemented our constitution on January 26, 1950. The main reason is, before independence we implemented, January 26 was Purna Swaraj Day. From 1930 onwards, Indians celebrated Purna Swaraj Day on January 26. That's why we have taken January 26 our constitution implementation day. After Simon Commission failed in our country, then Lahore session was conducted in 1929. In that session, we decided to celebrate Purna Swaraj Day every year on January 26. That's why first Purna Swaraj Day we celebrated on January 26, 1930. That point of view, we implemented our constitution on January 26, 1950. It is one republic. India is one republic from January 26, 1950. But some important concepts came into force from November 26, 1949. Those important concepts are elections, temporary parliament, citizenship. The three essential concepts were implemented from November 26, 1949. Remaining concepts all were came into force from January 26, 1950. Basically, our constitution had 22 parts, 395 articles, and 8 schedules. Just like constitution equal to textbook. Textbook what explains, constitution also explains same thing. British Magna Carta is just like non-detail, it is not clear, but textbook is very clear, non-detail is not clear. Same constitution is very clear. Magna Carta or Britishers made acts in our country, those were not clear. Our constitution was very clear. We drafted 22 part, 395 articles and 8 schedules. But present our constitution has same 22 parts, but including subparts 25 are there in our constitution, but nobody has power to change the basic structure of the constitution. We can add subparts or subarticles only, but we can't add new parts. 23rd part is not available in our constitution. Only subparts like part 4A, part 9A, part 9B we added. That's why. But this is not important, but this is very important. 22 parts, basic structure has no power to change anybody. Parliament has no power to change the basic structure of the constitution. And articles are now also 395, but including subarticles. At the time 465 plus subarticles we added. At the time 465 plus articles are there, but basic articles how many are there? Present also articles are 395. For example, article 243 has total 46 clauses. Panchayat Raj, municipalities, corporations and also cooperative societies. 243A to ZT available, but all these are added at the time. 465 above articles are there, but basically how many articles are there? Same present also, same articles are available in our constitution. And schedules are 12. We added later 4 schedules. First 8, after that 4 added. Schedules not come under basic structure of the constitution, that's why we added 4 schedules. Present 12 schedules are there in the constitution. Whenever we discuss structure of the constitution, structure, just it is idea purpose, we have to draw the structure. Our constitution or any country's constitution is equal to textbook. That's why we take example textbook. Textbook starts with preface, later contents. Contents means units and chapters. Finally, index. Same whenever we implement to this constitution also, first we go to preamble. Next parts, and articles, and finally schedules. It means our preamble is equal to preface in the textbook. Our parts are equal to units in the textbook. Our articles are equal to chapters in the textbook. Schedules are equal to index. What textbook explains preface, contents, index? Same Constitution also explained preamble. Preamble explains the whole objective or the whole aim of the Constitution. Part explains one main concept. Article explains sub-concept in the Constitution. Suppose for example you take part 3 explains about fundamental rights. In part 3 from article 12 to 35 different articles are there, different rights are explained. That's why these are sub-concepts are explained under articles. Schedules. Schedules are giving directions to identify some important concepts in the Constitution. Index what gives in the textbook, same schedules also giving in our Constitution. Schedules are just like landmark to identify some important concepts. Suppose you want to identify languages in our Constitution, we go to 8th schedule. 8th schedule gives information of languages. Suppose you want to identify Panchayat Raj system in our Constitution, we go to 11th schedule. 11th schedule gives information of Panchayat Raj system. Suppose you want to know President of India's salary, we go to 2nd schedule. Salaries and allowances of all constitutional posts are explained in 2nd schedule of the Constitution. Then we can identify which article says about President's salary. All these things we can identify through 2nd schedule. Total 12 schedules are explained some important concepts to identify some important concepts in the Constitution. This is the structure of the Constitution. It is not mentioned by our experts, just our understanding point of view we have to discuss like this. After that, sources. Different sources are there. Our Constitution has different sources because our Constitution is not own creation. We did not do experiment at the time. Our own creations are less, borrowed concepts are more, because before independence of our country, so many countries were made constitutions. They implemented, like America, Australia, South Africa, Ireland, Canada. These countries already implemented constitution. That's why we want to get good quality constitution, means definitely we borrowed some successful concepts in the world. That point of view, we borrowed different concepts from different places in the world. Then we prepared our Constitution. The most important source of our Constitution is Government of India Act. Of 1935. It is the most important source of our Constitution. We borrowed different concepts from this Government of India Act 1935. Federal system of the government we borrowed. Federal system of the government we borrowed from Government of India Act 1935. But the word federal is not mentioned anywhere. Division of powers, fundamental rights, written constitution, these are federal concepts. Anywhere the word federal is not defined in our Constitution, but our Constitution has some federal features. Those federal features we borrowed from Government of India Act 1935. Next, Supreme Court concept also we borrowed, but concept only borrowed from this act. But inside powers, independent judicial system, judicial review, appointment and removal procedure of Supreme Court judges were borrowed from America. But only the concept of Supreme Court is borrowed from Government of India Act 1935. Next, center-state relations. It is also borrowed from Government of India Act 1935. In our Constitution, Article 245 to 293, center-state relations are explained. Three types of relations are mentioned: administrative relations, legislative relations and financial relations. There is no judicial relations between center and state. This concept is also borrowed from Government of India Act 1935. Next, President rule. At the time it was called as Viceroy rule, we call President rule. It is also borrowed from Government of India Act 1935. The post of governor also borrowed from Government of India 1935. Britishers time provincial governor is equal to now States Governor. All these major concepts he borrowed Government of India Act 1935. That's why it is the most important source of our constitution. Second source of our constitution is British Magna Carta. Britishers made Magna Carta. It has no articles, no schedules, no parts, just rules and regulations are available in this Magna Carta. We borrowed some important concept from British Magna Carta. That is most important thing is parliamentary system of the government. Parliamentary system means PM, Council of Ministers, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, dual house system, Lok Sabha Speaker. All these concepts he borrowed from British Magna Carta. That is parliamentary system of the government. Next, single citizenship. America is following dual citizenship, but India is following single citizenship. This concept is borrowed from Britain. Wherever you live in the country, single citizenship is enough. State citizenship is not possible to get in our country except Jammu Kashmir. Jammu Kashmir people have dual citizenship. Other than Jammu Kashmir, remaining all the people in our country only single citizenship. Next, third one is equal rule of law. Equal rule of law. It is also British concept, evidence principle. All the people are equal before the law. In our Article 14 in fundamental rights it is explained all the people are equal before the law, but we had given some exemption. Okay, president, vice president, governor's point of view had given exemption, but according to constitution all the people are equal before the law under Article 14. These three main concepts we borrowed from British Magna Carta. Next, American Constitution. It is also one of the main important sources of our constitution. The most important concept is borrowed from America, fundamental rights. In America, these rights are called Bill of Rights. We are calling fundamental rights. If a person has right, that person can live freely, comfortably in any country. That point of view, we borrowed some rights: equality, liberty, okay, right to freedom of religion, right against exploitation, cultural educational right. These concepts are mentioned in our fundamental rights. Those are borrowed from some miscellaneous concepts in fundamental rights, also borrowed from other countries, but the main source of fundamental rights is American Constitution. Next, second point borrowed from America, that is independent judiciary system. Very important concept in judiciary system is independent judiciary system. Before independence, our country was controlled by Britishers. At the time, judiciary system was not independent. According to British rulers, then judges were given judgment, but present that is not possible. It is American concept. Next, judicial review system also borrowed from USA. Judicial review system. Whenever a person is not possible to get justice at the time, review is possible. Some issues point of review is possible. The word judicial review is not mentioned anywhere in our constitution, but judicial review is possible. Two courts have judicial review power in our country. One is Supreme Court, other one is High Court. The post of president. Only president post, but not powers. President powers are equal to British Queen. Just only post. Next, Vice President of India. Vice President of India post is also borrowed from American Constitution. India created one spare post. Whenever president post is vacated, one spare post is required. Acting president post purpose, we created vice president. Our vice president is the chairman of Rajya Sabha. American vice president is the chairman of Senate. Same, this concept is borrowed from American Constitution. Next also we borrowed appointment and removal procedure of Supreme Court judges. Appointment and removal procedure of Supreme Court judges. These are major concepts we borrowed from American Constitution. It is third source of our Constitution. Next, fourth one is Ireland. First concept we borrowed Ireland, DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy. Directive Principles of State Policy main aim is to establish a welfare state. Because India was not welfare state at the time, now also not welfare state. Whenever all the people of country are living above poverty line, at the time our country is called welfare country. Most of the countries in the world are thinking about welfare. Only few countries are thinking about development. Most of the nations in the world are developing nations. That's why we require Directive Principles of State Policy. Then we borrowed from Ireland Constitution. But these principles are not justiciable. Later we discuss in one chapter. Next, nomination members. In Rajya Sabha by the President. President of India nominates 12 members in Rajya Sabha of various fields like science and technology, arts, literature, social work. This concept is borrowed from Ireland. Next, electoral college. Our president is elected by electoral college. That concept is borrowed from Ireland, but inner side members, electoral college members are not borrowed from Ireland. We created election procedure of the president, we created, but electoral college concept is Ireland concept. Ireland concept. Next we have to discuss about fifth source of our constitution is Canada. Indirectly, federal system of the government we borrowed from Canada. Directly we borrowed from Government of India Act 1935, but indirectly we borrowed from Canada Constitution. Next, second one is the appointment procedure of the governor. Governor post is borrowed from Government of India Act 1935, but the appointment procedure of the governor is borrowed from Canada Constitution. And third one is very important, residuary powers. In our constitution, we divided division of powers. Under division of power, three lists are there: central list, state list, and concurrent list. Some items are mentioned in central list, some items are mentioned in state list, some items are mentioned in concurrent list. If item is not mentioned either state list or central list or concurrent list, that item is automatically goes to central government. All those powers are vested to central government. That is called residuary powers. It means strong central government. In our country, central government is strong compared to state government. Central government can take action on any state list item during emergency period also. Any state government is failure to protect law and order at the time, central government can take action through president rule. That's why strong central government concept also we borrowed from strong central government concept. Strong central government concept is borrowed from Canada. Residuary powers are borrowed from Canada. The appointment procedure of the governor, indirectly federal system, is borrowed from Canada. Next source is South Africa. The main concept is borrowed from South Africa is amendment procedure. We made very big constitution in the country. At the time amendments are required. So many articles are there in our constitution. Whenever you want to change anything, we require amendment. That's why we borrowed this concept from South Africa. Next one is election procedure of Rajya Sabha members. Election procedure of Rajya Sabha members are elected by the MLAs in our country. That procedure is borrowed from South Africa. States representation also in central houses means Rajya Sabha members elected by MLAs of different state legislative assemblies. This concept is borrowed from South Africa. Next, seventh source is Russia or former Soviet Union, because whenever we borrowed at the time Soviet Union was there, the only one concept we borrowed, that is fundamental duties. But basically no duties in our constitution. We don't have any fundamental duties in the basic constitution. Later period we borrowed fundamental duties from Russia, and we mentioned in our constitution in 1976 through 42nd Amendment Act. Basically our experts had given only fundamental rights, but later period fundamental duties were also added. Next, eighth source of our constitution was Australia. Only one concept we borrowed from Australia, that is concurrent list. Total 50 items are mentioned in concurrent list. Central list, state list and concurrent lists are there. Concurrent list concept is Australian concept. Next, ninth source, our constitution was Japan. Only one concept we borrowed from Japan, that is the procedure established by law. It is mentioned in Article 21 of our Constitution. No person deprived to any other person liberty or freedom except the procedure established by law, mentioned in Article 21. That concept we borrowed from Japan. And last 10th source is Germany source. emergency, particularly national emergency. National emergency power we borrowed from Germany. We have three types emergencies: president rule, national emergency and financial emergency, but here national emergency concept is borrowed from Germany. These are all main sources of our constitution. We want to study the nature of our constitution, we must know all these things. Our constitution has different rules and regulations. Different rules and regulations were borrowed from different countries in the world, and our own creations are few. Our own creations. Borrowed concepts are more, but own creations are very less. They are special protection to SC/ST category, SC/ST category point of view. Special protection had given, that is our own creations. Reservations first implemented in our country, but before that India did not implement reservations during Britishers' time. SC/ST protections, our own creation. And minorities protection also, special protection to minorities concept is also our own creation. Anglo-Indians nomination procedure, Anglo-Indians nomination procedure also our own creation. Official language, our own creation. All India integrated services, Britishers' time imperial civil service was there, but we created all India integrated services. That is also one of the creations of our country. Election procedure of the president also our own creation. Election procedure, but electoral college is Ireland concept. Election procedure of the president we borrowed from electoral college concept we borrowed from Ireland, but election procedure of the president is our own creation. The salient features of the Constitution. Indian Constitution was made from different country sources. Then our Constitution has some salient features. Special features. We have to discuss about some salient features of our Constitution. Number one, first one is written Constitution. Indian Constitution is a written Constitution. British Magna Carta is unwritten. That's why we compare to Britain at the time. Our Constitution is written Constitution. That's why it is one of the salient features of our Constitution. Number two, largest or biggest constitution in the world. If you take any constitution in the world that is smaller than Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution is the biggest constitution. We allotted all aspects point of view, articles, all aspects of priority was given in our Constitution. Central government purpose some articles allotted, state government purpose some articles allotted, local government purpose provision was allotted, but rules and regulations were made after Constitution came into force, but provision was allotted. Languages purpose some articles allotted, SC/ST people purpose some articles allotted, minority purpose articles allotted, emergencies purpose articles allotted, constitutional bodies purpose articles allotted, Jammu Kashmir purpose article allotted. That's why our constitution is the largest or biggest constitution in the world. Any constitution this much of provisions are not arranged in the world. That's why our constitution is very biggest constitution. Next, third one is parliamentary system of the government. Indian system is parliamentary system of the government. Whenever parliamentary system of the government implemented in our country, at the time PM post is unsecured post, CM post is unsecured post. In presidential system, president post is powerful. Our PM is removed by members of Lok Sabha through simple majority. But American president is removed by the parliament through impeachment. American president removal procedure is very tough because that is presidential system, but our system is parliamentary system. Whenever head post is unsecured, at the time head is possible to work properly and also observe always public welfare. That point of view we implemented parliamentary system of the government. Next, our constitution is partly rigid and partly flexible. Semi-rigid or semi-flexible constitution. Some part of the constitution amended very tough, some part of the constitution amended is very easy. Suppose we establish new schedules, or we want to establish councils or abolish councils, and also we want to change states border, it is easy to amend through simple majority. Some part is amended tough. Suppose you want to amend fundamental rights, special majority is required. We want to amend reservation system, special majority in parliament and also of the state assemblies majority is required. That's why our constitution is partly rigid, partly flexible. America constitution is the most rigid constitution. That concept is not suitable India point of view, because some aspects point of view we amend very easily, some aspects point of view we amend very tough. Both are required our country point of view. That's why it is also one of the salient features of our constitution. Next, partly federal and partly unitary. Our constitution is partly federal principles and partly unitary principles are there. Base is unitary base, but features are federal features. Suppose you see, division of powers is one of the most important federal features. Two stages government, two steps government is very important, central level, state level, federal principles point of view. Fundamental rights also very important in federal system point of view. Written constitution, supremacy of the constitution, these all are our federal principles. But we are not following dual citizenship, that is federal principle. We are not following rigid constitution. Our constitution is partly rigid, partly flexible. That's why some federal principles or federal rules and regulations we are implementing in our constitution. Unitary concepts, single citizenship, single Supreme Court, single president, okay, strong central government or these all unitary principles. That's why it is also one of the important salient features of our constitution. Independent judiciary system. Next important salient feature is independent our system is independent judiciary system. Our Supreme Court judges are appointed by the President on advice of collegium. They are removed by the Parliament through impeachment. They can take their own decisions and also they can give their own judgments in our country. Own judgment means according to law, they have to give judgment. According to Indian Penal Code, Civil Procedure Code, Criminal Procedure Code, they have to give judgment. But executive power should not interfere in judicial matters. Separate judiciary from executive control in our country. That's why our judicial system is independent judicial system. It is also one of the salient features of our constitution. Next, judicial review. This American concept we borrowed and we mentioned in our constitution. Supreme Court and High Court, these two both courts have judicial review power. If a judgment was given by Supreme Court, if a person is not satisfied, at the time that person again file review petition. Best example is in Yaqub Memon case. Next one is conversion of federal to unitary system during emergency period. We can impose president rule. In our country, we can impose president rule whenever any state violated rules and regulations. Conversion of federal to unitary system. Suppose if a state violates rules and regulations, not protect law and order, at the time central government can impose president rule through governor. That is unitary concept. Federal change it to unitary. Whenever states are enjoying power, that is called federal concept. Whenever center has taken power from state government, that is called unitary concept. That facility is also available in our constitution. That's why that is also one of the most important features. Next, fundamental rights and duties. These are also one of the salient features of our constitution, because if any person wants to live freely in our country, that person must enjoy some rights. Without rights, a person cannot live freely in the country. That point of view, our experts had given some fundamental rights. Same time, we have to follow some duties. Whenever duties are not followed, public neglected duties, at the time society or government is not developed, country is not developed. That point of view, some duties are also follow public. Either Indians or foreigners come to our country, they have to follow some duties. Indians can enjoy some rights, foreigners can enjoy fundamental rights. Next, DPSP, Directive Principles of State Policy. This is also one of the salient features of our constitution. Directive principles are arranged in the constitution. The main aim is to establish a welfare state. Because we want to develop our country into a welfare state, compulsory some principles are implemented, whatever suggested by our constitutional experts. They suggested some principles. According to rulers convenient, they implemented, but we can't go to court. Public cannot go to court to implement directive principles in our country. These are not justiciable. Rights are justiciable, but directive principles are not justiciable. Whether government implement or not implement, public cannot go to court. According to rulers convenient, they implement principles. Otherwise, people cannot go to court. Single citizenship. Single citizenship is also one of the most important salient feature of our constitution. Because wherever we live, single citizenship is enough. States do not have any own citizenship. States should not give any state citizenship except Jammu Kashmir, remaining all over the country only one type of citizenship, that is single citizenship. Wherever live, wherever property purchase, wherever enjoy rights, no problem. Anybody, suppose for example Lok Sabha seat contesting point of view, any person contest from any place. Modi belongs to Gujarat, but he was contested from Varanasi, was elected from Varanasi. Next one is secular state. India is a secular state because government has no official religion. Anybody can follow any religion or number of religions. According to Article 25 of our Constitution, a person can follow, promote, canvass any religion or number of religions. In our preamble also the word secular was added later period. Government has no official religion. It is also one of the salient features of our Constitution. Next, universal adult franchise. Universal adult franchise means voting power. Voting power is depending on age factor, not community basis or not caste basis. But during Vedic period, only Brahmana, Kshatriyas used their vote only. But present situation, anybody, any community is no bar. Age is main factor. A person is cross 18 years, that person can use his vote or her vote in our country. That is universal adult franchise, one of the salient features of our Constitution. Borrowed from various sources. Wherever best quality rules and regulations are available, those concepts we borrowed and we mentioned. That's why our Constitution is the best Constitution in the world. Only one country concepts are borrowed that may be best or may not be best. But we borrowed different country concepts wherever good quality rules and regulations are available. Suppose parliamentary system was successful in Britain, that's why we borrowed parliamentary system from Britain. Rights were successful in America, then we borrowed rights from America. Directive principles of state policy implemented in Ireland, then we borrowed from Ireland. Strong central government system is very good in Canada, then we borrowed from Canada. Amendment procedure was very good in South Africa, then we borrowed amendment procedure from South Africa. No communal representation. No communal representation. Religious point of view, no communal representation in politics. Muslims purpose some seats allotted, Hindus purpose some seats allotted. This system is not there in our OK Constitution. Only socially, economically backward people point of view, reservations allotted in our political system, SC, ST point of view. Some local governments are giving OBC point of view, reservation point of view given, but no communal representation was not there. Communal representation is not there in our country. Supplementary laws are possible to make. Whenever we require constitutional laws, we can make through amendment of the Constitution. Whenever we require any supplementary law, we can make and also we implement in our Constitution. For example, Nirbhaya Act is supplementary law. It is not mentioned in the Constitution. Domestic Violence Prohibition Act, it is also supplementary law. Right to primary education is a constitutional law. It is constitutional act. Right to primary education, right to information, these are constitutional acts we added to our Constitution. But Nirbhaya Act, or Domestic Violence Prohibition Act, Motor Vehicle Protection Act, National Wildlife Protection, all these acts were made only general laws, made in our country through general laws implementation. Both laws are implemented in our country. We require constitutional laws we can implement, we require general laws we can implement. That is also one of the specialities of our Constitution. These are the main salient features of our Constitution. Most important thing is parliamentary system of the government. Most important thing is parliamentary system of the government. After that, independent judiciary system, then fundamental rights, directive principles of state policy, universal adult franchise. Okay, single citizen, these are the main important salient features of our constitution. But our experts said so many salient features, but the most important salient features we have to concentrate, okay, in our constitution. Next one is preamble. Preamble is the introductory part of our constitution. Introductory part. It is introductory part of our constitution. It is equal to preface. What preface explained in the textbook, preamble is also explained same thing in our constitution. It explains about the whole objective or aim. Whole objective or aim of the constitution. It is not borrowed from one particular country. Preamble is the mixture of different countries, but the word preamble was first used by USA. First used in which country? The word preamble. First country mentioned preamble in the world is America. American constitution has preamble, Indian constitution has preamble, but inside matter is not borrowed from America. Different countries' concepts are mentioned in our preamble. It is heart and soul of the constitution. Heart and soul of the constitution. Because whenever we read preamble, the whole concept of the constitution we understand. That point of view, it is called as heart and soul of the constitution. The main source of preamble is objective resolution. It was introduced by Jawaharlal Nehru on December 13, 1946 in Constituent Assembly. That is the major source of our preamble. Because whenever we read single page, the whole concept of the constitution we understand. Same object resolution also same explained. That's why the main source of our preamble is object resolution. It was introduced on December 13, 1946 by Jawaharlal Nehru. This is the main source. Preamble is also comes under basic structure. Preamble is basic part, basic structure of the constitution. It comes under basic structure. But any article or any part is not explained about preamble. After preamble, parts and articles are started in our constitution, even though it comes under basic structure of our constitution. But between 1960 and 73 period, preamble was not part of the constitution, not part of the constitution. Some cases point of view, at the time Supreme Court had given judgment not part of the constitution. In 1960, one important case was occurred in our country. Very case. In this case, Supreme Court had given judgment. Preamble is not basic part of the constitution because any article or any part is not explained about preamble. If any article is explained about preamble, that comes under basic structure. That's why it is not part of the constitution according to Supreme Court judgment. Mahavir Tyagi filed this case at the time Supreme Court judgment had given. Then onwards, it is what? Preamble was not part of the constitution. But in 1973, again another person went to court on preamble issue, that is Keshavananda Bharati case. He filed against Berry case that is, preamble is also comes under basic structure, because preamble is equal to preface in the textbook. Whenever preface is the part of the textbook, why preamble is not part of the constitution? He argued in the court. At the time, court has given judgment favor to Keshavananda Bharati. Then 1973 incident is what? According to Supreme Court judgment is what? Preamble is also part of the constitution. That's why preamble is amendable. Preamble is amendable. Only just remember what between 1960 and 73 preamble was not part of the constitution. Before 1960 it was part of the constitution. After 1973 it is part of the constitution. It comes under basic structure. Between 1960 and 73, these cases point of view, it was not part of the constitution. Present preamble is amendable. Preamble is amended only once. It was amended only once, that is in 1976 through 42nd Amendment Act. Very biggest amendment act in our Indian constitutional history is 42nd Amendment Act. It is also called as mini constitution. This amendment act is called as mini constitution. It was amended only once. Preamble was amended only once, that is 1976 through 42nd Amendment Act. So many articles were amended at the time, same preamble was also amended. Three important words were added to preamble. They are socialist, secular, integrity. These three words are added to preamble. Socialist, secular, integrity. So these main important points we have to concentrate. First one is what we have to concentrate. It is introductory part of the constitution. After that, equal to preface in the textbook. Its main objective or aim is, it explains the main objective or aim of the constitution. The word preamble first made in the world is USA. It is heart and soul of the constitution. Preamble main source is objective resolution. It was introduced by Jawaharlal Nehru on December 13, 1946. Present preamble is also basic structure, preamble part of our constitution. But between 1960 and 73, preamble was not part of the constitution. In 1960 Ray Berry case point of view, Supreme Court had given judgment, preamble is not part of the constitution because any article or part is not explained about preamble. That's why it not comes under basic structure. But in 1973 Keshavananda Bharati case, Supreme Court judgment has given, according to Keshavananda arguments, preamble is equal to preface. Whenever preface is part of the textbook, same preamble is also part of the constitution. That's why preamble is amendable. Between 1960 and 73, preamble was not part of the constitution. Preamble was amended only once, that is in 1976 through 42nd Amendment Act. Three words were added to preamble. They are socialist, secular, integrity. The whole text of the preamble what explains? Actually, preamble starts with we the people of India. First word was written in our constitution is we. We means the people of India. What is the first word in our constitution is we. We, the people of India, having solemnly to resolve constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and secure it to all citizens of the country. We give social, economic, political equal justice to the people and also we maintain and protect equality, liberty, fraternity and integrity. We decide ourselves, we adopted or enacted ourselves on November 26, 1949. The whole text of the preamble. So many words are there. The main objective of the constitution also mentioned, social, economic, political equal justice. It is Russian concept. Social justice, economic justice, political justice. Socialist concept also borrowed from Russia. Liberty, equality, fraternity are French Revolution motto. Liberty, equality, and fraternity. These are French Revolution motto. In 1789, French Revolution was occurred. At the time, main motto of that revolution was liberty, equality, and fraternity. Different concepts are there in our preamble. That's why preamble is a mixture of different countries, not borrowed from one single country. That's why we did not write in our sources of our constitution preamble word. The reason is it is a mixture of different countries. These points mainly we have to concentrate about preamble. Next you go to schedules. Briefly we have to know about schedules in our Indian constitution, because whenever we want to study overview of the constitution, we must know schedules of the constitution. Schedules are giving directions to identify some important concepts in the constitution. Schedules are equal to index in the textbook. If any textbook or reference book you see, index is available, same constitution point of also schedules are required. Suppose you take British Magna Carta, they don't have schedules. American constitution is only made with 7 articles. At the time also schedules are not required, but we made very big constitution in the world, then definitely some schedules are required to identify some important concepts purpose, landmarks are required. That point of view, we arrange some schedules in our constitution. Basically 8 schedules, later period 4 schedules were added. That's why total 12 schedules are there present in our constitution. First schedule 1. Schedule 1 explains about names and geographical limits. Names and geographical limits of states and union territories. We want to know states and union territories information in our constitution. We go to schedule 1. Schedule 1 gives information of states and union territories, borders, geographical limits. Andhra Pradesh has border with some other state, Telangana has border with some other states. All these things you want to identify, we go to schedule 1. Schedule 1 gives information of states and union territories, geographical limits and names also. All these are available in part 1 of the constitution, part 1 from article 1 to 4. We want to identify part 1 article 1 to 4, we go to schedule 1. Schedule 1 gives information of states and union territories. Next, schedule 2, salaries and allowances. For all constitutional and political posts. Constitutional different people's salaries are mentioned. Some people can take salary. Suppose for example, president's salary is mentioned in our constitution. PM salary is not mentioned in our constitution, but PM can take salary. His salary is equal to member of parliament. Particularly PM purpose, any salary is not mentioned in our constitution. But PM is basically member of parliament. That's why as a member of parliament he can take salary. Salaries and allowances. Different people's salaries are mentioned. Supreme Court judges' salaries are mentioned on place. Government salary is mentioned on place. All these things you want to identify, we go to second schedule. Next, third schedule. Oaths or affirmations. Oaths or affirmations of all constitutional oaths or affirmations of all constitutional and political posts. In our Indian constitution, oathing is compulsory to all posts. President oaths in the presence of Supreme Court Chief Justice. Governor oaths in the presence of concerned state High Court Chief Justice. Prime Minister oaths in the presence of President. All people are voting in the presence of some other persons. Those things you want to identify, we go to second schedule. Second schedule gives information of all these votings. Different places these votings are mentioned. All these votings you want to identify, we go to third schedule. Next, fourth schedule. Election procedure of Rajya Sabha members. We want to identify election procedure of Rajya Sabha member. These are all available in Article 80 of Rajya Sabha chapter. We want to identify these things at the time we go to fourth schedule. Fourth schedule gives information of election procedure of Rajya Sabha members. These members are elected by state legislative assembly members. Next, fifth schedule. Administration and control. Control of SC, ST people. SC's purpose and ST's purpose, some articles were mentioned. We want to know these articles, we go to schedule 5, administration and control. President has power to administrate of SC, ST people, all these things. Those things you want to identify. Suppose, for example, Article 330 explains reservations in Lok Sabha to SC, ST community. Reservations to assembly in SC, ST community under Article 332. 338, they can establish one SC welfare commission, ST commission, okay, under Article 338. Different places, SC's purpose, ST's purpose, articles were mentioned in our constitution. Those things you want to identify, we go to schedule 5. Schedule 6, administration and control of scheduled areas. Some scheduled areas identified in our constitution, those are economically, socially backward areas. There are scheduled areas. Suppose northeastern states, Andaman Nicobar lands, Lakshadweep, Diu Daman, these areas are identified by Government of India, scheduled areas. Their purpose, some special benefits are given in our constitution. Those things you want to know, we go to sixth schedule in our constitution. Next, seventh is very important schedule in our constitution, division of powers. Division of powers. Actually, we want to know division of powers, we go to seventh schedule. Seventh schedule gives information of division of powers. Actually, these powers are mentioned in Article 246 of our constitution. Under division of powers, 3 lists are mentioned. Number 1 is central list. Present 100 items are there in central list. Number 2 is state list. 61 items are there. Items are subjects. Number 3, concurrent list. (52) items are there. If any item is not mentioned, either central or state concurrent, that item automatically goes to central government. Already we discussed that is residuary powers. This is 7th schedule. 8th schedule is very important schedule, that explains languages. Our constitution identified only few languages. India has multiple languages country. More than 1650 languages are speaking in our country, but our constitution identified 22 languages, but only one official language. Official language is only one, but not 22 official languages. Official language of our country is Hindi for 1965. Before that, our official language was English. But basically in our constitution, in 8th schedule, only 14 languages are mentioned. After that, 8 languages were added. That's why present 22 languages were identified in 8th schedule of the constitution. All these are available in our constitution. Languages, purpose, some articles were allotted in our Indian constitution. Those things we want to identify, we go to 8th schedule. 15th language was added in our constitution, that is Sindhi. In 1967, Through 21st Amendment Act, it was added in our Constitution. Sixteenth was Konkani. 17th Manipuri. 18th Nepali. Three languages were added same time. The three were added in 1992 through 71st Amendment Act. Next, 19th language was Dogri. 20th Bodo. 21st Maithili. And 22nd is Santali. These four were added in 2003 through 92nd Amendment Act. Present 22 languages are identified in our Constitution. Sindhi is the 15th language. It is speaking in Punjab, Pakistan, Indian Punjab. Okay, Sindh state is all places, but in India point of view, whenever we discuss at the time, it is speaking in Punjab. Konkani, it is Goa's official language. Manipuri is speaking in Manipur. Nepali, wherever Nepalis are living in our country, in those places, that language is speaking. Dogri, it is Jammu Kashmir. Bodo, Assam. Maithili, Bihar and Jharkhand. And Santali tribe people. Santali is the present biggest tribe of our country. After 2011 census, Santali is the biggest tribe. Santals. The tribe name is Santals. Their language is Santali tribe. Santali language. Tribe name is Santal. Maithili, it is speaking in Bihar and Jharkhand. Bodoland people, Assam speaking. Dogri, Jammu Kashmir people. Jammu Kashmir has three languages identified in our Constitution. Dogri, Kashmiri and Urdu. English is not mentioned in these 22 languages. Hindi is also part of these 22 languages. These languages identified in 8th schedule of our Constitution. Next, 9th schedule was added in 1951 through First Amendment Act, that is Land Reforms Act. In 1951 through First Amendment Act, land reforms were mentioned in our Constitution. Under Article 31A, 31B, 31C, land reforms are explained in our Constitution. These land reforms adding point of view, Constitution was amended. It is the First Amendment Act. Land reforms were mentioned. We want to identify land reforms in our Constitution. We go to 9th schedule. 9th schedule of the Constitution. 10th schedule, anti-defection law. It is related to political parties. If a person is elected from one particular party, that person must be stayed in that party. Whenever he wants to jump to other party, compulsory he has to take minimum 2/3 part of members, otherwise that person membership is cancelled. It was introduced during Rajiv Gandhi period in 1985 through 52nd Amendment Act, anti-defection law. It was implemented whenever combined Andhra Pradesh was there. At the time, some people jumped into ISRCP. At the time, this anti-defection law was implemented by Speaker of combined Andhra Pradesh, Nadenla Manohar. Next, 11th schedule, Panchayat Raj. Panchayat Raj Act. Basically, Panchayat Raj purpose, just only provisions were mentioned in our Constitution, but later period, Panchayat Raj system was introduced. At the time, only statutory body in 1959, but after that, Panchayat Raj system got constitutional status. In 1992, through 73rd Amendment Act, 11th schedule was added to our Constitution and Panchayat Raj principles were also made. Pajara system got constitutional status also in 1992 through 73rd Amendment Act. We want to identify Panchayat Raj principles under Article 243 A2O. We go to 11th schedule. 11th schedule gives information of Article 243 A2O. Total 15 clauses are mentioned in our constitution for Panchayat Raj purpose. Last schedule is 12th schedule, municipalities and corporations. Municipalities and Corporations Act was added in our constitution through 1992 through 74th Amendment Act. From Article 243 P to ZG, P like Q up to Z, ZA to ZG, all these were mentioned. Total 18 clauses were mentioned for municipalities and corporations. So these 12 schedules from 7th onwards very important. Seventh explains about division of powers. Total 3 lists are mentioned under division of powers: central list, state list, concurrent list. 8th schedule explains about languages. Total 22 languages identified in our constitution, but official language is only one, that is Hindi from 1965. Sindhi was added in 1967 through 21st Amendment Act. Konkani, Manipuri, Nepali were added in 1992 through 71st Amendment Act. Dogri, Bodo, Maithili, Santali, the 4 languages were added in 2003 through 92nd Amendment Act. 9th schedule, Land Reforms Act, it was added in our constitution in 1951 through 1st Amendment Act. 10th schedule, Anti-Defection Law 1985 through 52nd Amendment Act. 11th schedule, Panchayat Raj Act 1992 through 73rd Amendment Act. 12th schedule, Municipalities and Corporations Act 1992 through 74th Amendment Act. These are main important schedules. You concentrate. Thank you.